Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Just wanted to say thank you for watching, and today I wanted to talk about tribalism, which I'm sure you're all pretty much familiar with. Basically when everyone pretty much sticks to whatever party they're in. Like they only vote Republican or they only vote Democrat. And that's kind of what I want to focus on, especially in light of the recent midterm elections, which we pretty much know now. You know, the Democrats managed to retain the Senate, in fact, probably get a better footing, and the Republicans took control of the House by a slim margin. And as to who the new speaker is going to be, it's kind of up in the air. I don't think it's going to be Kevin McCarthy. He's proven to be as weak as a leader as can be. And I wanted to focus on some of the recent races and the one pending, which is the one in Georgia between Senators Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. And that a lot of people I know, especially from the right, tend to always vote Republican no matter what. You know, they're in that tribal thing, like, I've always got to follow Republican no matter what. And I'm trying to understand what is the whole logic to that, especially now with everything that's been going on. Because, again, it's not always just about one person. I get there mostly like that during a presidential election, but like in the primaries and the midterms, it's considerably different. Now, they thought there was going to be this huge red wave, and everybody, a lot of these candidates, jumped on the whole Trump train, which, you know, proved to be a loss for them. You know, it was just a really bad horse, and it just led to their defeats. Some of them are still complaining about it, thinking their elections were rigged or compromised, which they weren't. The one thing that stood out to me was the one in Colorado with Lauren Boebert, and I forget who she was running against, but it was a very tight race. Unfortunately, she won, and not by a margin, and her opponent conceded. But what got to me is that he conceded without, requesting any recount, and it was literally just a matter of a few hundred votes. I don't know the exact number, but why didn't you request a recount? Okay? Because I got nothing against recounts. I really don't. When it comes to elections, even if, regardless of which side or which candidate is requesting for it, it's okay to ask for that because, as far as democracy goes, you want the elections to be free and fair. And if you think something might be a little off, you want to be thorough and confirm it with a recount. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's when after a recount, it still proves that a certain candidate lost, and the candidate just refuses to accept that, especially when they have no evidence. So, as far as tribal goes, some of the people probably said, well, I've got to vote Republican. I'm not assuming that's the overall feeling, but that's the vibe I'm getting. And it's definitely the way it's been in some other states where, and I'll get into another example in a minute, but you have somebody like Lauren Boebert who is as unhinged as can be. She's not too intelligent. She said some pretty stupid and outlandish things. And for the most part, I don't really think she's doing anything for the American people, specifically, especially the people in our own state of Colorado. Which makes me ask the people of Colorado, like, what are you thinking? Maybe you don't like the opponent, but the opponent seems more on track with trying to do things. Things on the Democrat side under the Biden administration have actually had some pretty significant accomplishments, in spite of some of the mistakes that Biden has made. But again, we're not talking about a president. We're talking about specific people in each individual state, and mostly that are going to Congress that will make decisions. So can somebody from Colorado who voted for Boebert please watch this video and then comment and say, oh yeah, I voted for her because she has done this, that, and the other thing. Her brand seems to be just be the loudest voice in the room, be as obnoxious as can be, and basically anything I can do to trip up the Democratic agenda. Okay, I get it, you're on the Republican side, but are you doing things for Republicans? And the answer I can pretty much say is no. There is so much hypocrisy and, wrongdoing on her part, it's not even funny. And yet, pretty much a little above 50% of the people of Colorado went for her. If you guys were really smart, you could have voted her out. You would have had somebody in place to hopefully pass policies to benefit the people of Colorado. And would she go away? No, obviously not. She would continue whining, complaining on Twitter, on Fox. So you'd get the both worlds. You'd still have her there to entertain you and say stupid things, which is pretty much the norm for her. And you'd have somebody new in there, hopefully to try and do a better job than she did, which at this point, just about anybody could do a better job than her. But, you know, you guys decided. So that's a common example where I think tribalism really fails. Okay? Because again, we're not just talking about yourself. We're talking about, you know, the state that you live in and people across the country, you know, especially when you're voting for people in Congress. And that's also previously what led us to Donald Trump, you know, where you had somebody who was as unqualified, loud, obnoxious, no experience, no knowledge in governing, and no knowledge of the Constitution or federal law. And yet everyone just got behind the Republican candidate, saying because, you know, I vote Republican. How do I know the logic is flawed? It's real simple. Because if I took Donald Trump back in 2016, and instead of an R, I put a D in front of his name, oh, what would Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz and all these other sycophants say? Would they get behind him? No. They'd rally against him and focus on all his flaws and everything. But he became popular, you know, just behaving the way he did, being a celebrity. And instead, you got stuck with him. And for 4 years, his presidency was a disaster. And yet, you still have a still percentage of small people who just, they can't let go of the tribe. They got to say, I can't, I'm going to vote Republican each and every time. That argument is flawed. And in case anyone is wondering, I voted both Democrat and Republican in the past. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but, you know, lately I've been leaning more Democrat, even though I, you know, try and look for more progressive candidates. But the fact remains is I'm not locked into one party, because what if your party is acting crazy? And how do I know that? Well, one, people are rejecting them. You saw that in the midterms. There was no red wave, okay, and a lot of people were pretty shocked. So was I a little bit, don't get me wrong. As I said in the previous video, I was a little worried too, but it turns out a lot of voters, they weren't into the whole MAGA thing. And one conservative voter, a Republican voter, said it the best. I forget what state she was in or who she was voting for, but she pretty much said it the best. I did not leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that. And, you know, again, it boils down to what has the Republican Party really been doing lately? What accomplishments can they come out with? I know they pointed out on some of the issues like high gas prices and, you know, the economy, the inflation and all that. A lot of them ran on the pro-abortion, you know, claiming to be pro-life, which they're not. And, you know, that backfired on them. And just to give you more evidence of the whole tribalism thing, where you have a party that's not doing the right thing, yet people for some reason feel inclined to always vote for that party. Recently, at a press conference where they had speakers like Jim Jordan, who crawled out of nowhere, you know, I've already given my thoughts on him, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is probably one of the other members in Congress, even less intelligent than Lauren Boebert, who subscribes to conspiracy theories, who believes in QAnon and has said some racial and anti-Semitic things, and was pretty much stripped of all her responsibilities because of some of those remarks. But she was never ousted. And yet, I don't know, I think there's a good amount of people in the state of Georgia that she represents, especially in her district, that for some reason support her because of the whole tribalism thing. And yet, what has she done for the party? What has she done for the people? Can anyone tell me that? And the answer is not a hell of a whole lot. And as I was saying during this press conference, what was the big thing that they were talking about? Being they were so concerned about some of these issues that they wanted to fix. Did they talk about how they were going to deal with the oil and gas industry and try and bring down gas prices? Were they focused on inflation and what they were going to do about that? Or maybe things like increase the minimum wage, or maybe do more student loan forgiveness. Not that I even expected that. No, they want to investigate Hunter Biden. Great. It's nice to know you guys have your priorities on. You know, the GOP is well on track to do the right thing. So, this is what tribalism has brought us to. The other election that's going on is the senator candidates in Georgia that now went into the runoff between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. And it's a pretty tight race. Warnock being the Democrat, you know, a pastor who has had some pretty good accomplishments. And I'm sure he's made some mistakes too. And who does the GOP get behind? A former athlete who is as ignorant and as uneducated as can be, who has said some pretty stupid things. Recently went on a rant about vampires and werewolves. Don't ask. If you've seen a clip, you probably already know about it. It makes absolutely no sense. Here's a question to Georgia, because he's gained a lot of support, even though we're still in the runoff. And that is a simple question. What do you think Herschel Walker is going to do to you? I've outlined this before, and I feel like I got to keep repeating it because some people just don't seem to understand. And the answer is he's not going to do a whole lot except just what the white politicians tell him to do. People like Lindsey Graham, like Mitch McConnell, they're going to say, okay, just go out and vote against this and you'll be fine. You know, and when he's in Georgia, they'll let him go on some of his little rants, have his little meetings and say more stupid things, and in the end, accomplish absolutely nothing. So why would you vote for a candidate like that? And again, to put it into perspective, if there were candidates like in my area, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Lauren Boebert, like Herschel Walker, that were voting on the Democrat side or the progressive side of things, and I saw them behaving, you know, at press conferences, you know, at rallies, and the way they are today, I would look at these people and say, these people are absolutely nuts. I don't want them in Congress. But no, you know, you get still some people that are like flat out against the Democratic Party, you know, like in the state of Georgia, and just say, we want the Democrats out, we just want all Republicans. You know, they can't get control of the Senate, but they can still try and increase their footing on it at this point. It's not going to make a difference, even if Herschel Walker wins. But he's only going to be detrimental to the progress. He's not going to do anything to solve any problems. So again, as far as tribalism goes, what is the whole logic of it? What is the whole point of, you know, only supporting one party, even when that party is not clearly doing the right thing, which is, you know, working against the people? There have been a few accomplishments from the Biden administration that Republicans all flat out voted against, that they didn't support at all. Just to put it into some perspective, you know, for all you tribal men out there. They voted against the $15 minimum wage. When there was a baby formula shortage, they voted against that. When there was the one bill to support veterans, I forget the specifics of it, they voted against that too. So much for pro-military. And they were opposed to student loan forgiveness, where some members, I think it was Ted Cruz and a few more, filed a lawsuit against that. So again, what is the Republican Party doing for you? And if you think you're not seeing the effects of it, maybe you're okay in the red state that you live in, but there are a lot of people that are not. And you got to consider that as well. Now, to someone who's either MAGA or just, you know, they're tribal to the point where they're not MAGA, but they're always going to vote Republican, here's some other statistics that you mean. In Republican states, the murder rate is higher than in blue states, approximately 40% higher. 9 out of the 10 states that get federal handouts, those are red states. And yet a lot of some of these politicians on the right are opposed to government handouts and stuff like that. You know, they call it socialism. 16 of the states with gun violence and death, those are red states. You know, because everyone's pro-gun. Lauren Boebert, who on Christmas, you know, displayed, whoops, somebody's in trouble. Yeah, her idea was a Christmas display of her and her family holding automatic weapons, because nothing speaks for the birth of Christ than a gun. The GOP and all these members, they claim to be pro-life, yet 9 out of the 10 states have the highest levels of maternal and infant mortality. Those are in red states. It goes on. You know, the top 10 states with the highest poverty, red states. Of the 10 states that have the poorest education, you got 8 out of 10 of them. Those are red states. And yet in some places like Florida, where Ron DeSantis, run by a considerable landfill, he's into banning books and everything, de-educating, and others are doing that. And yet, a majority of the people in Florida went for that, you know. States with the lowest minimum wage, mostly red. And like I said, when Biden tried to push for increase the minimum wage, they all voted against that. So while you continue to go, some of you, to vote by the tribe that you're in, by the party that you're in, where you're always going to put party over country, it's a flawed method, okay? And we're seeing it play out before us. And because of that, you've got stupid candidates that aren't doing the right thing. And it's not just about you, it's not just about your party, it's about the American people on a whole, because when they vote against something, it affects everyone. You don't get to say, well, I own the libs because I now got a few more years of Lauren Boebert to act silly. It means she's not going to get anything done. She's not going to do anything for the state of Colorado. If Herschel Walker wins, he's not going to do anything for the state of Georgia. What is he going to do? Is he going to come up with a health care plan? No. Is he going to vote to, do things to solve infrastructure or inflation or gas prices? No. He's just going to do what he's told. Georgia, you still have a window of opportunity to do the right thing to help yourselves. I'm hoping this will get through to some of you. Probably not, especially if you're strictly in party over country, but I would love someone to put in the comments box and explain, how tribalism truly works, how it benefits them as well as the American people. Anyway, I really hope you understand. Thank you for watching.